Welcome back, folks. Frank here. So today I want to bring up a topic going into the weekend that may or may not have a huge impact on how you look at this game. But I really want to present a situation for you folks to see if you feel the same way as I do. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So the topic at hand that I'm proposing to the community is this. Is War of the Visions the perfect game for you? And what I mean by that is, we all understand that War of the Visions is actually a gacha game, right? It does have the elemental system, it has summoning, it has, collector kind of feeling to it. Like a lot of people see gacha games as hero collectors, meaning that they have to collect and gather units in the game that they feel like they need to have all of them, or at least most of them, as part of their own collection. And of course, every account is going to have a varying experience because, well, we don't all have the same units or characters. And of course, those people who spend tons of money obviously probably have everybody, but we're not talking about those folks most of the time. Let's go ahead and begin with actual heroes or units in this game. There are obviously quite a few number of units, and there is this thing that I did a long time in my life, and that's playing trade collectible card games and TCG. I don't know if I said it right, but let's just call them card collectible games. Trading collectible card games. Yes, that sounds right. And one concept that those games introduce is chase rares, right? Companies like Wizard of the Coasts, they create games like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, right? Company from Konami created Yu-Gi-Oh! And so these games like to create chase rares, just as the name sounds. And for those of you who already know what that is, well, great. And then for those of you who don't, it basically is that. You're chasing after specific rares. Cards that really make or break your decks to bring you to a much higher competitive level. In this game, I don't think there's too many chase rares. Contrary to belief, most people who create lists and ranking units are probably going to actually concur to the idea that this is the type of game you don't need to have every single unit. And you can actually do really well with lower rarity units. I tried to support this unit heavily, Zazan, and I tried to highlight him in a lot of my videos. And if you haven't checked my recent video about how powerful he actually can be, here's a link to that video up above you right there. And that's to how I cleared the Chocolate Flan challenge on Brutal Mode. Other units that other folks are highlighting would be, say, the SR characters or the MR characters. Much lower rarity, but they have their own benefits and usage. I recently added another person onto my featured channel in my own channel, Gilgamesh. I think a lot of people are finding him to be more popular because he's showcasing his units that are lower rarity, and he's clearing high-end content using them. I think he's a whale though, because he has so many units, and I know he has tons of UR units for a fact. It's just that he likes to highlight a lot of content that can be completed with lower rarity units. So if you haven't, check him out. He's actually very useful. I'm assuming it's a he, by the way. Now let's talk about summoning rates. This game has a pretty bad summoning rate. It's at a solid 2%. And by most summoning standards, that's actually pretty low. I think that's one of the lower end ones. So let's just go ahead and take a quick look one real quick. Let's do just regular rare summons. I think that would show the drop rates. I think actually it should be the same, right? Drop rate should be all the same. It should be 2%. The only difference is units going to be highlighted or featured are going to have a little increase in drop rate. So as you can see, for the ultra rare is 2%, for the MR is 8%, SR is 31%. Now, I do want to counter to the fact that this game has a really piss poor drop rate. The fact I just mentioned before, you can actually use many SRs, MRs units to really finish and accomplish the goals that you want to do in this game. Mostly obviously PvE content. There's actually another gentleman that I've been following him on YouTube. He actually used in MR unit, and he's crushing it on Arena. He's actually ranked top 150 on the Japanese server. And the unit that I noticed that he likes to use a lot to counter one of the new units that was released on Japan. I believe it's an ice unit. No, sorry, it's an earth unit. That's right, it's an earth unit. And I noticed that he likes to use this unit. If I can find her. I should have her, right? Please tell me I have her on this account. And sadly enough, I do. Why do I say sadly enough? No, it's true, I do. It's an SR unit, Sasha. So for some reason he picked Sasha and max leveled her. Everything is fully done, and she's doing crazy damage. The jumping is just so powerful against that new earth unit. So, point is, yes, summoning ray is bad. Lots of heroes to collect, but you can be very selective of who you choose. The next thing I want to talk about is the gap between pay to win versus free to play. Now, in this game, as I mentioned countless times, once you max level your unit, both awakening, limit breaking, all the jobs, all your characters are the same on every account. The difference that's going to set you apart from others is the abilities that you select, the vision cards that you use, the espers that you use, and the equipment that you use. So of course, people who put a lot of time into this game, getting the equipment, to +5s and whatnot, you know, buying the eggs to level up their vision cards, and farming religiously on the Chocobo Expedition to get their espers leveled up, that's going to really separate the differences between players. Now, clearly, pay-to-win players have a luxury of having more access to units because they usually tend to buy the awakening materials, like the rainbow items in this game, right? Just quick reference here. Obviously, the rainbow stuff. They're going to have more of them, so therefore they're going to have more units to choose from. So more likely they will have more options to counter defenses on Arena. For PvP purposes though, you know, that's a whole new topic conversation because like I said before, you don't know who you're going up against. So I feel like as long as you go in with 3 solid units, you know, your chance of winning is actually should be the same versus pay to win players. And then this will segue to, is this game free to play friendly? And my answer to that would be yes. I have demonstrated that on this account at player rank 45 with this team that I use, which is no one at the level 99. And as you can see, most of these units are kind of like, you know, sort of semi-built. And I'm able to clear the highest difficulty content currently available on global server. And I did it with, actually, in my opinion, not to show off or anything, with relative ease, because the strategy I employed after, you know, digging around on the internet, I realized this is, for me, on this account, is the best strategy I could use. And I made a video for it, obviously, and I felt like that was a very surprising result for me, because I didn't really think that it would work, but as it turns out, it was a very rewarding way of beating that stage. Next thing I'm going to talk about is quality of life. This game has pretty good quality of life and is improving over time. I think one of the important things about this game is the fact that we have the ability to auto. And some people feel like autoing isn't really all that great for a game. But at the same time, if you have to spend real life time to do things, you know, spending time with your loved ones or whatever, then you don't have time to really sit here and manual every stage. So if you just put on auto farm, you know, walk away and then come back in an hour and collect your loot, I don't see anything wrong with that. However, that being said, I feel like manualing certain stages is very rewarding, right? It is a strategy game after all. So when you come out with a new strategy and you want to use that strategy the next day and you use it and it works well, it makes you feel really good. And I think one thing this game perhaps can really do to support the community even more is perhaps increase the drop rate on manual. If we choose the manual harder content, perhaps they should increase the drop rate when we trigger the manual before we engage. If you auto, perhaps it'll just keep whatever the current formula is for drops. I feel like that would encourage people to be more engaged, which is, I think, the next topic of conversation is this game engaging enough? I feel like when you do manual things, it makes the game more fun, at least for me. When I did the giant challenge and when I did the chocolate flan challenge, I had to manual all of them. But on multiplayer, seemingly people just want to auto. And there were cases where we did fail. But for the most part, people tend to seem like mobile games should be just an auto fest. And for me, as a strategy game, I think manualing should be more of something people should be doing if they have the time, obviously, to show that they're actually engaging with the game. I feel like after autoing for a long time, I forget how to play the game. Because I'm like, wait, how do I do this? Where do I place this? And yada, yada, yada. I watch a lot of videos of people doing PvP, like actual PvP, not the arena. And I really see how good these folks are in terms of strategizing where they place their unit. And that gives me more inspiration to perhaps do more manually playing the game. The last thing I want to talk about is actual engagement as well, but from the company side. Square Enix and Gummy are two companies that are really, really good at engagement actually, or just taking part, working with the community, the supporters of this game. I think they've made updates fairly quickly. When they discover something that's going wrong in the game, they fix it really right away. Unlike a lot of games that I played in the past, for the last decade, a lot of companies don't react fast enough. And I feel like this game is working very hard to improve. With the recent update on stacking of stats for equipment, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, currently the way it's built, the system is built is that when you equip equipment, you only take the highest stat that specific item allocates. So for example, attack. If your other equipment gives you attack, it only takes the highest among all your equipment. So bear that in mind, you're not actually stacking currently. But with an update that's already out in Japan and probably coming out in global later on, we will be able to stack some of those stats. And if you haven't checked, go ahead and check on AOJ's channel. He actually is going over both the equipment in terms of weapons, in terms of armor and accessories. I think it's very informative. Definitely check that out. So overall, is this the perfect game? I would definitely say no. And I think when most of you who clicked on this video probably already have your answer in your mind. But I really wish people would put that in the comments if they want to share what they feel are the strongest point of this game, or perhaps what are the weakest point of this game. I don't think it's the perfect game, but I feel like this is the best strategy game on the market. And from a gacha perspective, this game is super solid. It's free to play friendly, and you don't need every unit to succeed, as demonstrated by many content creators in this game. Overall, I feel like this game, if I was to give it a ranking of 1 to 5 stars or taters, in my case, I like to use taters for my reviews, but I would probably say a 4. And the reason being is it has a strong IP, strong companies supporting it. There's a lot of unique characters in this game, and there's great potential in this game. Future collaborations is going to be one of the main draws of this game. If they can add characters from like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII, or even if they want to expand to other brands, maybe like Gummy can actually implement some of their units from their Alchemist Code brand and put in this game, because after all, this is pretty much what this game is modeled after. My other thinking would be if they would implement other big brands in Japan, right? Things like maybe Seven Deadly Sins could be a possibility. Just adding certain units that are more fitting to the genre of this game. Maybe they can add things from other type of anime. Ninjas, for example, would be very popular. So Naruto will be a big brand that they can actually add. So there's so much potential to this game. And something I really advocate is maybe they can add more than the simple 3 jobs that we currently have. I know some units have individual jobs as their main, but perhaps we can add more different combinations and maybe even add combo attacks. For example, let's say the 2 ninjas, right? Shadow Lynx and Kiton can maybe actually do some combination attacks later on. That would be very visually pleasing. overall, I think this game is definitely worth playing. The biggest caveat for most folks I would suggest is be patient. This game is designed for you to be successful in the long haul. There's no real gratification in playing the game for 2 days and expect to accomplish many things. This game is going into almost 1 year in Japan, and here it's going to be, I believe, 4 months almost. Actually, almost 3 months. Actually, at least 3 months. And so it's a very short life game so far. But for it to have a longevity, a long-term success, they would need to continually improve. And they would need continuous support from the community, such as you and me. And at the end of the day, we need to be less negative, more positive. And if you see things that are going wrong, then talk about it. But not necessarily in a negative way, because negativity spreads much faster than positivity. At least that's what I learned in life, right? So, with all this said, support your community, support this game, and at the end of the day, by the way, that's going to be my new catchphrase. End of the day, have fun. Until next time, take care of yourself and all your loved ones. Frank, out of here.